Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you my complete digital painting process. Well, I chose this image because it gives interesting ideas. For example, a leopard had a scar or face shape that looked like a cat, and even her sitting form, it's very cool. She just needs a tail and maybe leopard ears. So now we start working. To start, create a new layer and select this brush. I show you how to make this brush now. Hard round, pressure, opacity and flow. We choose one of the simplest Photoshop brushes. Then in setting menu, I reduce the roundness. We can make the same brush now. It gives cool lines, almost like a pencil. Now let's start with the general shapes. We have nothing to do with details. This is where the head is, the curve of her back, and a very beautiful curve that has her hips. The general shape of her chest and shoulders, the place of her hand. Maybe it is better I draw it here. And drawing her leg in the perspective, same as the reference. You can see that the whole shape of her legs and arm in a circle. Well, we make it a little smaller so that we can better identify the total proportion. Reduce the opacity of our layer and add another one. Now let's define our forms. The hands you see in the water, and the elbows and the lower line of the chest are in the same range. This is just one of the key points that help you draw correctly. Her hind leg, which is probably like this, and her front leg is very clear. Now what happened to her other hand? We can't see because it's behind her hair. If I show you on the reference, it is here. It is her shoulder line that is gathered. And well, let's draw it the same as the reference. Head and at the end, eye area. Well, we delete the first layer because we don't need it anymore. Third step, create a new layer to go into details. Don't limit yourself to making your design look like the photo you choose. Just it is a reference that will help you draw the forms better. For example, instead of working on a leopard scar, we combine the characteristics of the leopard with this girl. Now I draw her ears like this, but I think they must be a bit round for a leopard. Well, in order to make sure that her ears is what it should be, I found this picture of leopard. Now, according to the picture, we are working on it. I draw same as the picture. We make the head a little flatter to make it look more like the leopard. Now I work on her hair. First, we draw the general shape And let's draw her body forms. In order to draw shapes of her muscles correctly, it is very important that you know how to connect the bones and how the muscles are attached to them. It helps you um, a lot in identifying forms and even exaggerating them. A good reference for studying muscles and bones is Anatomy for Sculptures, very useful book which I think is also useful for designers and painters, not just for sculptures. And draw the final lines of her legs. You see, I draw very freely and I don't pay attention on the details. Now we add the details of the hair, and of course we paint most of it later. Well, we add a layer for color under the design layer. We choose our simple brush without opacity because we want to have a base form of it. Later we can paint on this layer by masking. So just we color the whole figure with template color. One hand needs to be corrected, so I select this hand and right click, cut this part and move to here. Maybe a little shorter will be better. I think it's better to change this part too. You see, we play with the forms to get the form we want. Well, we merged all these lines layer, and let's go back to color layer. We want to paint by masking, so we colored the whole of this character just by template color. Masking it allows you to easily paint it without worrying about edges, and you have more there. So you can work with larger and bolder brushes. And we erase some part of that. Let's check it. And yes, we have to erase and add some part. Now add new layer above the template color, then right click, create clipping mask. Now whatever you do is within the scope of the sub layer. Select hard ground, pressure, opacity and fluid brush to have some opacity. We choose a light color for highlights. Based on what you see in your reference, put the lights. Increase and decrease the pressure of your pen a little. You should play with the pressure of your pen with the pressure that your and puts on the pen, puts on the surface. And some places need to be worked very gently. You see, we want to emphasize on a few places. We are currently providing general lighting. Add another layer for the rim light, the size of the character. I choose this light blue. I didn't paint the whole leg here. Let's go back to the rest of the blue color. But so that it becomes a bit different. If you double click on the layer color overlay, then choose color, so whatever we paint in this layer becomes just this blue. This is a good way when we want to paint later by this color and you don't need to explore the previous color. The light of her breast. Now we are working on the shadows. I choose this dark color. We paint with a large brush as much as possible. Later we add the details. I colored her hair also by this dark brown. Shadows of her hand. In some places, like her back, I exaggerate her form with shadows. I change it to multiply mode. Let's make her nose a little more similar. So I colored this area a bit pink, but I think this color should be a little orange to be in harmony with her skin color. I darken the side of her lips, same as the reference. Well, a cool orange light has fallen on her eyelids due to the color of the sky. Now let's work her eyelashes. We don't work eyelashes separately, especially for such a thing that we have the whole figure. It becomes very unnatural if you work every single eyelashes. Let's see if we can work the girl's eyebrows like this leopard. I put some spots, same as this reference on her forehead, and I put them by the rhythm, and from the very small to when it goes to back, they become larger. They are different in the shape and in the size, and maybe some of them becomes together and they become like a heart. That's a bad idea, yeah. I put some lights on their nose, forehead. Well, we put a very soft light on her lips that shows the inflation of her lips better. And I colored her cheeks a bit orange, a bit by this color, and I put this color on the different places of her body, for example between her eyes, and also use the same color for her nipples, same as the color of her lips. And maybe very gently touches would be good on their leg, all over the body. Maybe a few spots here, that would be cool. Just try to keep the points in a rhythm, both in terms of size and shape. They are better not to be same as each other. I put them based on her body shape, and by this way I emphasize on her body curve. And well, I erase the middle of them. Now we keep a series of negative space to show that in some places the hair density is less, and in some places more. So we have to erase some parts and maybe add some lines to the outside of that. you see very large space in some part and very slim lines, very thin lines in some parts. We play with the forms, with the shapes. Now I want to clean this part. And I put some highlight here. Let's erase this. Let's go back to the design line layer. I don't want all of our design lines to be finalized anymore, so I erase some part of that. And these lines may be better instead of multiply mode have a color. Let's take a color test. Let's see what color gets better. This blue is not bad, but it is better to be a little darker than the color of her skin. I'll go back to the base color and I want to clean our forms. So erase this part. I clean edges. Well, I forgot the shadows under her chest, under her breast. Put very dark shadow here. I put highlights on her hair and first with very large brush, but now well, if I connected this part, the eye shadows of outside of her eyes with the hair, that would be good. And well, I put highlight with very delicate lines on her hair. To lighten the hair, we can use the other way. We can choose a different shape by selection tools, and depending on the places where we want to stand out, and we put lighter color to this area. We just fade a little around them so they are not separate from her hair. Motion blur will reduce its intensity and give them an angle. Maybe it is better switch it on lighten color mode and erase some part. Add another layer for water. I don't want to work the whole environment. Just a few brushes in the base layer. I think it's fine. It's enough. And I put some brushes in base layer, and it seems that her body is reflected in the water. Above the all layer, I want to put this light blue, and I think it's better. And I change the ring light a bit to be similar with the watercolor. Now let's put some light on final light on her skin. I put them with the sharp brush without opacity. After that, I select some part of that, and with motion blur, I fade them. Maybe I transform them here, it's better. Yes, I cut this part and separate them, and well, again, with motion blur, I fade them, and at the end I raise the extra part, and I do the same work on her hand. I put very light glue on her stomach with this bounce light of the water. Well, I completely forgot her tail, so I create a new layer under the base color, and I now draw and paint exactly the same way that we work the character. I just colored with template color, then by masking I paint highlights, rim light, and shadow per tape. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you like that and subscribe my channel.